Hi there, welcome back. I'm Sean Osterlink and this is Overcoming with ACT. Welcome to my channel. Please like and subscribe if you like these kind of videos. Today we're going to be talking about cognitive distortions. Now, this is not so much an ACT concept. It doesn't come from ACT, but this comes from CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. Acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, is considered broadly within the realm of CBT, but it's considered third wave CBT. I don't know if I should be using air quotes for that, but CBT is comes from some decades past. Now ACT has been around for like 30 years and CBT came before it, and ACT is considered a behavioral kind of intervention. It's based on behavioral principles, as it uses is exposure as a form of developing people's capacities to face hard things. It does use cognitive processes, but it uses what would be called metacognitive processes, in that the mindfulness techniques that are used are more aimed at distancing and observing thoughts and thought processes rather than being in the nitty-gritty of dealing with those thoughts. Whereas CBT, conventional cognitive behavioral therapy, is focused on responding directly to those thoughts, changing the ways that you think, battling, challenging, rationalizing through thought processes in order to change them, using positive self-talk in order to encourage yourself or reframe things. So whereas ACT is different from that. But I like talking about cognitive distortions. I think they're relevant and important to understand. In particular, if you're going to be journaling and reflecting on a situation. So with ACT, if something triggering happens for you and you get that first hook, something happens and it gets its hook in you, and so you're getting fused, and now you've got this thought or this feeling or this sensation that is starting to carry you away and get your attention. Then in that, there are unhooking kinds of tools, things called cognitive diffusion. These are mindfulness type tools. One of these days I'll do a video on some of that. But those are strategies to get unhooked from those things in order to step back and observe rather than fight with, rather than be in the struggle mode where you're hooked and then you're still struggling with that and you're just in this tug of war with the thing. And so right in the moment of dealing with some sort of hook, some sort of trigger, it can be better to do the ACT approach, where you're stepping back in the mindful kind of manner, as you'll learn more about. But when you're processing a trigger after the fact, when you're thinking about it, when you're talking about it, writing about it, you want to think through what were my thought processes as this occurred, what went through my head when that happened, what were underlying beliefs of mine about that situation. When you're going more in depth like that, that's where I think it's particularly valuable to reflect on what kind of distortions show up, and what kind of thought processes occur there that maybe aren't so helpful for me. Maybe they're actually adding to my stress. Maybe they're not accurate. And so cognitive distortions are a myriad of ways that we can, look at the world in the wrong way, misinterpret information that we have, make all kinds of jumps and assumptions in our logic, or in our attempts to be logical, that can end up getting us stuck or getting us triggered in ways that, if we were to reframe that and look at it a different way, that maybe we wouldn't have to be. And so there's a handout I like to use with people, that I like to introduce people to, from therapistaid.com, that I'm going to be referencing here. But the first four on this list, it kind of makes sense to talk about them all at the same time, is all or nothing thinking, mental filtering, overgeneralizing, and disqualifying the positive. And so I want to talk about each of these briefly, and who knows, maybe I'll make another video to explore these more. So all or nothing thinking is the habit of going to this extreme. It's either all good or it's all bad. Things are great or things are ruined. This is the best or this is the worst. This went from my favorite day in the world to the worst day in the world. Things were going fine and now everything is ruined. Those are examples of all or nothing thinking, or black and white kind of thinking. Something is all good or all bad. I'm all good and you're all bad, or I'm all bad and you're all good. Those are some of the ways that all or nothing thinking can come up. Perhaps in future videos we'll talk about how that can show up in relationships, maybe how that shows up in politics, as these things certainly do. They show up in ways that we communicate and interact with other people, and how we interpret things within ourselves. So the next one is mental filtering, and that means we only take in certain kind of information. We take in certain things. It comes through, it's like the lens that we wear to see the world. We can take in certain things, and then we filter out other things. I'll receive this kind of information. I won't receive that kind of information. I'll only see, maybe I'll only see the things that I want to see. But I'm not going to see those things that would otherwise be bothersome or challenging or something like that. Moving on from that, there's overgeneralizing. And so, again, I lump these together as they're all kind of similar, but overgeneralizing would be something like, well, this happened one time, maybe this bad thing happened one time, or maybe I was mistreated this one time, and then that means it happens every time. I mean, I make this one mistake, and then you hound me for it ever afterwards. I made this one mistake, and now you never trust me again. You can never trust me again. And so it's this overgeneralization of, well, because of this, now it must be a pattern that's going to take place. It becomes, and you know, it could be, that can definitely be reinforced if something has happened intermittently. Maybe something happens rarely, but it happens occasionally. And so it's easy to take that kind of information and go, well, it happens sometimes, so it must happen all the time. Something like maybe stereotypes might fall into that. Well, sometimes a stereotype could be true, and therefore it becomes, then it would become, well, then every time the stereotype would be true, then that would be an example of overgeneralizing something by believing a stereotype. And then the last one I have here is disqualifying the positive. And that is really where somebody in a state of depression might experience this, or somebody in the state of grief might experience this, where anything good occurring or coming your way ends up being filtered, in a sense, filtered out, thrown out. Those good things don't matter. It's only what is the negative thing happening. It's not, you're not seeing what are other positive things that can be identified. Where's the good happening, or where's the good in how you've maybe been treated? But it's all the focus ends up going on those things that are negative. Like the good stuff goes back in the trash. That's on the little image on this handout I give people. The good things go in the trash, and then it's like just holding on to those negative things. In relationships, that can look like, once contempt is developing in a relationship in a couple, then anything good that partner might actually be doing is no longer able to be clearly seen or acknowledged. It's going over. It's getting filtered out, thrown out, and only the mistakes, only the bad aspects of the partner, of the relationship, are being seen. And these are all similar to one another. And I tell people, like, it's not so much, you don't need to nail every one of these as you're processing. It's not so much it being accurate to which exact thing is it, because it might be some of one, it might be partly another, but what matters is just that you're recognizing that there is that distorted lens that is showing up, that is shifting something, where you're not taking in all of the information, you're not taking it all in a balanced sort of way. And so recognizing it can be that first step to changing the way you think about it, changing that lens in how you're interpreting information or seeing the world, or in how you're treating someone. So that's a little bit about cognitive distortions. I plan to do some more of these at some point, and I think it'd be fun to maybe go more in depth, maybe give more specific examples. But as you know from some of my other videos, I wing this stuff. I go by things that I think of kind of in the moment, and ideas that I have as far as what I could cover. So I appreciate you hanging out with me, seeing what I come up with today. And again, please like and subscribe if you like this kind of stuff, and I'll see you next time.